Hey YouTubers, how are you doing today? So this morning, well last night actually, we found out our washer was going bad, and I told my wife I'd take her in town first thing this morning and try to get her a new washer. Went to Home Depot, and Home Depot, they didn't have anything in stock. So we went to Lowe's, and Lowe's had just a couple of them, but they weren't really the ones that she wanted. So we went to a smaller place. They had the exact one that my wife wanted, so we ended up buying it and bringing it home and hooking it up. The bad thing about that was that it ended up taking longer than I thought it would. The good thing about it is I figured, well, I've already lost this much time today, I just as well take the rest of the day off. So that's kind of a good thing. So I thought I'd make a video and tell you guys how I ended up with my Harley Davidson. I'll be honest with you, I told a little white lie that it was a completely innocent lie at the time, but it's kind of how I ended up with it. So when I was younger, I pretty much always driven Honda Goldwings. My dad had a Goldwing. He bought it first, and I really liked it, and I wanted one, so I went and bought me one that was about, gosh, like 10 years older than his. My first one was in 1981. Anyway, fast forward about 10 or 15 years, my dad passed away, and I'm not sure what got into me, but one day I decided just to go into the Harley Davidson shop. So I went in there, and I was just looking at the bikes, and they asked me if I wanted to test drive one. You got to keep in mind that I've driven Honda my whole life, and I thought Honda was basically the only bike out there, especially not a Harley Davidson. I mean, that was just, no, I just couldn't do that. But I took this Harley Davidson out for a drive. Excuse me. I took this Harley Davidson out for a drive, and it shook. You got to a stoplight, and it just shook and shook and shook. But the cool thing about this Harley Davidson is when I gave it just a little bit of gas, all that vibration went away. And I drove it around my town a little bit, and I took it back and went home and told my wife what I did, and I started looking online for Harley Davidsons, and you know, I wasn't serious about one at that point, but I was just looking, and I thought, man, I really like that bike. That was a fun bike to drive. And anyway, that was more towards the beginning of the summer, and well, at the end of the summer, I noticed that they still had this bike here that I test drove. And I went home and I talked to my wife about it again, and she told me if I wanted to, then to see how much they wanted for it. And I don't remember the exact price, but it was like $14,000 or $15,000. It was a little bit more than what they were online. But again, I didn't know anything about Harley Davidson. I just didn't want to buy a bike from anybody, of a bike that I just didn't know anything about. So anyway, a couple more weeks went by, and I was driving with my son. We were working that day, and I was driving with my son in our work van, and he was talking to his mom, and I was just joking when I said this, but I said, why don't you tell your mom that I went into the Harley Davidson shop and I offered him $10,500 or $10,300 out the door for that bike, and they said they would take it. And then I said something or else to the fact of, why don't you tell your mom to call them and say that we'll come and get it right now if they would take $11,000 out the door. Well, again, I was trying to see where my wife was at it. It wasn't very cool of me to do that, but my son hung up the phone, and next thing you know, my wife calls back, and she says, she tells my son something, and I asked my son what he said, or what she said, and my son says, Dad, I think I'm just going to stay out of this. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of weird, but okay. Anyway, so that night I got home and I was talking to her and I told her, I says, hey, I was just joking about that price. And she kind of got frustrated with me a little bit, which, knowing the whole story now, I don't blame her. But the next morning, I told her, I says, I'm going to go in there and just see what they'll take for that bike. And she says, okay. So I was there at 9 o'clock in the morning when they opened the doors, and I went up to the front door there. And I saw the manager walk up to the front door to unlock it, and he looked right at me, and he put his head down, and he walked right back into the store. And I was like, well, what the heck is that all about? And I looked out, and I looked through the windows, and I looked on the lot and stuff, and the bike that I wanted that was there the day before, it wasn't there. So I told my wife, I says, hey, you know, this bike isn't there. And she says, well, Sean, we'll find one. Don't worry about it. And anyway, so I went to work, and I kept calling there, and the salesman that I had talked to a little bit, she didn't seem to be there that day, or she was late for work or something. I don't remember for sure. And when I got, anyway, the salesman finally calls me back, and she says, Sean, we're sorry, we sold that bike, but we've got another one downstairs that's a lot like it. You want to come look at it? And I says, yeah, sure, I'll come look at it. So I called my wife, and I says, hey, do you want to meet me in here at lunch? And then we can go look at this bike. And my wife says, yeah, that's fine. So I was kind of frustrated because I finally decided to buy this bike, and it was gone. And I got in there, and let's back up a little bit here. So my wife, we went to Arby's that day, I remember, and she showed us up in the pickup, and she brought all the kids. I was like, okay, that's fine, I don't care. She brought all the kids, we went and got lunch, and then we went to the Harley Davidson shop. We found our salesman, and she took me downstairs, and she showed me this bike. And this bike, it looked a lot like this one. I mean, it was red and black, if I remember right. I didn't care for the way it was set up as much. I went to start it, the battery was dead. I asked her how much they wanted for it. They wanted like $2,000 more for it. And I just kind of shut it off, and I says, okay, would you just let me know when you guys get another, or would you just let me know when you get another bike in that's more in my price range? And she says, yeah, I will. And then she took me upstairs, and she was showing me another bike, and I says, well, how much is this one? And she says, it costs more. And I says, yeah, let's just wait. And next thing you know, I hear this motorcycle start up outside, and they start revving up the engine, and again, it's a Harley Davidson shop, so they're loud, and I didn't think anything of it. And I was walking outside, and there was another one out there. It was a blue one that I really liked too, but the problem was that it sat out in the sun a lot, and the black was faded and stuff like that. So I asked the salesman, I said, so how much is that one? And she, again, said about $2,000 more than what I could afford. And I says, all right. So I start walking around the corner, and next thing you know, all these salesmen and stuff start following me around the corner. I look in the back of my pickup, and my wife had them load this motorcycle up in the back of my pickup. It was a pretty exciting moment for me. She definitely tricked me. What happened was, after I called her and told her about the $11,000, she called them, and she got them to take the $11,000. I think it was out the door, if I remember right. And she went in that afternoon and wrote them out a check. And then that next morning, they took the bike into the shop. That's why it wasn't outside. They got it all ready to go. And when I was down looking at the bike in the basement, the one that wouldn't start, that's when they were loading the bike up into my pickup. So anyway, she kind of told me what was going on and stuff, and I felt really bad because, like I said, that I guess, like I said, it's kind of a little white lie. I didn't mean anything from it, but it kind of made me feel bad. So I told the salesman, I said, hey, I wasn't here yesterday. Nobody offered me that. You guys don't have to do this. The salesman lady, she says, no, that's fine. We're hoping to get your business anyway for the coming year. So we're not making much off this bike, but we're going to sell it to you for this. And anyway, that's how I ended up with my Harley Davidson. So I took it home. I bought it at, I think I had like 22 or 23,000 miles on it. It's got 38,000 miles on it. Maybe in another video I'll tell you about the story of it. Until then, I've thought really strong about selling this bike, and I still might. There was a guy that wanted to buy it from me, and I found myself, it was really hard to sell because of the story behind it and the way my wife got it for me. So anyway, it's kind of a cool story. It's I don't know, just kind of means a lot to me for the way we got it. So anyway, that's how I got my 2007 Harley. So if you guys like my video, I'd appreciate it if you would put a like on it and subscribe to my videos. I'm going to try to do more and more and learn more and more about these videos. Another thing I want to do is start doing research on different types of motorcycles. I love Harley Davidson. I love Honda Goldwings. There's really not a motorcycle out there that I don't like. So I just want to start doing research on them and see where they, like when they started manufacturing them, and I don't know, just kind of doing stories on different ones. So if you guys would like and subscribe my channel, I'd sure appreciate it. It would really help my channel out. So I guess that's it. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for taking your time to watch this. Bye.